Hello and welcome to Bitsbox World, builds made easy. Make Sprue Goo, they said. It's easy, they said. I don't know. Hi, I'm Tom, and I've got all of these sprues left hanging around from models that I've been painting and building up, and I've done a bit of recycling in the past, so I made some fences out of my sprues and also even using them as frames for like barricades, and that's certainly been a good way of using them. But I want to have a go at making some Sprue Goo. So this is my how-to Sprue Goo, and you'll need some 100% acetone, pure acetone to start off with. So this is just nail polish remover that I bought from Amazon. I then finished up my honey, emptied the jar, gave it a wash, and made sure that that was ready. And using my clippers, make sure you've got some good clippers, you can start breaking up your sprues and just get them stuck in the jar. I want to be really honest with this video that actually this is my first time making Sprue Goo, and I saw in the comments below when I had made things out of sprues in the past, my fences or barricades, people said, why aren't you making it into Sprue Goo? And that is a really great suggestion, because now I've had a go, it's super easy to make and super versatile. You can really do a lot of things with your Sprue Goo. So first off, cut up your sprues into nice manageable chunks. And with this, I guess tip one is the smaller you cut things up, the quicker your goo will form. But actually, it doesn't massively matter if you want to leave it overnight. It will all be ready for that by the next day. But if you clip it nice and small, if you've got a limited amount of time, your goo will get ready quicker. The clipping things out definitely took the most amount of time, and you really do want to have a decent pair of clippers so it just breaks through those plastic sprues nice and quickly. But this is what I did about halfway up the jar. This was my first test, and then you simply just pour your acetone into the jar. I didn't know how much I was going to put in here, whether I'd just put a little dribble at the bottom and it would start to break down into that, or whether I filled it up. So what I decided to do was get up to a level just above where my sprues were, and make sure that they're all covered in the acetone liquid. So there we go, nice and filled up, completely covers the sprues that I cut up, and we now need to see how quickly this will start to break down in that acetone. Also, just be aware the acetone does stink. It does stink quite a lot, so I was very grateful when the lid went on. Just to say, with the lid as well, I've seen some jars that have got like a rubber seal, those melt. So this honey jar, it just has a metal lid, so that's really good. And you can see after about 3 minutes, it starts to have an effect on the plastic in there. You can see it going all crinkly as the acetone is starting to melt things down. So that was after 3 minutes. This is going to be quite a lengthy process though for the sprues to break down. So in the meantime, why don't you do some model painting, or do something that you love doing, because you're going to be waiting a little bit of time, and I've got some Tyranids that I want to paint up and get them ready. I've been playing a lot of 40k of late, and part of making my Sprue Goo is I want to see if I can make some scenery for Warhammer the Old World or Warhammer 40k, or maybe even things like More Time. I've been considering having a go at that. Right, back to the Sprue Goo then. So this is about 20 minutes in, and everything is starting to melt down nicely. The coloration of the acetone as well, it's going a bit green. I don't know why really, just a chemical reaction I guess, but it's starting to get a bit gooey in there, and you can see it's really having an effect to melt this down. So patient game, but it's really going to be worth it at the end. And here we go. I left it overnight, and it looks like somebody's peed in the jar, but let's have a look at the goo to make sure that it is goo-like. I'm wearing gloves at this point because I didn't know if handling the glue was going to be problematic for my skin. I guess gloves was a good way forwards, but you can really see that those sprues have melted down into this goo-like texture. Now, as the goo is covered in acetone, I'm just putting down a wooden board as well, as I didn't know if it was going to then melt my cutting mat. But there we are, getting the goo out then, just using a spoon, and we'll see what we can do with this. So my plan was, I've got a bit of plastic rod that I'm going to use as a rolling pin to see if I can roll it out. And then I've got this really awesome sort of textured roller that looks like bricks or cobblestone or something, and was going to roll that over it. But as you can see, this is my first error. I touched the goo too quickly, and it does become something like venom. It becomes so gooey and sticks to everything. So that was a bit of a fail, but the first thing I learned, let it sit out when you pull it out to start off with, just for a few seconds before handling it, rolling it, or trying to use it. So let's try that again then. We'll try that again. So placing it down on the mat and then just using the metal spoon. It didn't seem to stick so much to the metal, but I just wanted to let it sit for a few seconds, and then it sort of gets this layer on the outside of it where it's still gooey all in the inside, but it stiffens up a little bit on the outside, and this means that it becomes less sticky when you're actually using things on it. So using the spoon there, I just moved it around just so all of the outside elements of it got exposed to the air, and then I could actually touch it, and it was a bit more like Play-Doh than the gooey the gooey style it was the first time. So definitely just letting it have a bit of exposure to the air to start off with. As you see, as I push through some of the fatter sections, if it goes into the inside, it does become quite stringy and gooey again. But just let that have a bit of air, and then you can really start to work with it and flatten it out. And then using this bit of pipe then, I just rolled out the goo even more, so it was nice and thin like sheets, but also spread out as much so there wasn't as much gooiness in the center. This is where my mind started racing with what I could do with this. So not only could you use goo to fill gaps in models to kind of get over that flash as a replacement of, I guess, green stuff, you could use these to make buildings, you could use these to make walls or rocks. But I've got this here, it's a roller that I bought that I was going to use with clay, but I think that this goo is going to be better. So it's a textured roller, and it's meant to make a sort of stone or brick or cobblestone effect, and I think that looks really, really good. Yeah, it's really come out quite nicely. Now, what I would say is the curing time on this I found to be quite long. This one I only left to dry for about 2 hours or so, and it ended up being quite rubbery and quite sticky against the board. You could pull it off, but you ended up with this sort of leather effect because it wasn't quite hard yet and it hadn't set. So I had to wrestle it off, but the top section where the stone effect was nice and dry, but the bottom was still quite wet. This one I left overnight and it came off really easily and was a lot stiffer to start off with. So I definitely recommend leaving it a good amount of time just to set, and it goes back to a sort of plastic state. The great thing with making it into sheets as well is you can also cut it just with scissors. So really easy to cut. And this one here, I thought I would try to make sort of some straight edges, because it could be part of a building, could be part of a wall. And then something that I have been building in the background, I thought this would be perfect for that, was I've been building this wall here and using bits of cardboard on this tower that I've been creating to do the tower effect, the brick effect on the side of it. But look at that! I could just do some of these and glue them on, and even though there's the curing time, there's the drying time, it's going to be a lot quicker than sticking all that cardboard onto there. And then I can even recycle the bits that I've cut off, just stick them back in your jar, and they will break down and make goo for any future projects. And I'm really excited for something that I've ordered, and I'll be showing you that in another video, but there's so much potential with this goo for making buildings, for making rock structures or floors and roads and things like that. It's awesome that the community pointed this out. So please like this video if you liked it, comment on this video, and why not subscribe to the channel if you haven't. It would be great to have you as part of the Bitsbox World community. Thanks again, I'll see you in another video. Thanks for watching Bitsbox World, builds made easy.